Welcome back. Back to the politics in Capitol Hill. Meanwhile, Cory Booker, the New Jersey Democratic senator, has staged a filibuster of sorts, not literally, but of sorts, to protest what he calls the crisis that President Trump and top advisor Elon Musk have created in Washington. Booker began speaking on the Senate floor Monday night at 7 p.m. And as of this taping, Booker has been speaking out against the Trump administration for 20 hours plus. Here's a portion of Booker's comments on the Senate floor. Quote, "In just 71 days, the President of the United States has inflicted so much harm on American safety, financial stability, the core foundations of our democracy, and even our aspirations as a people for our highest offices, a sense of common decency. These are not normal times in America, and they should not be treated as such," end quote. So long as Booker is holding the floor, the Senate won't be able to conduct other business unless he temporarily yields. Meanwhile, California's top Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom is speaking out against his own party. Newsom criticized the party and implored fellow Democrats to take accountability for their losses and called the party's current brand, quote, toxic, end quote. Newsom appeared on Real Time with Bill Maher and said the following, quote, "Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be. We need to own our mistakes. We need to own what's wrong with our party. Part of the problem with the Democratic brand is that we talk down to people. We talk past people," end quote. Newsom recently launched a new podcast called, quote, "This is Gavin Newsom," end quote. The California governor hosted conservative guests like Charlie Kirk and the aforementioned Steve Bannon. Newsom also found common ground with the right on the issue of transgender athletes competing in women's sports. He called these athletes' participation, quote, "deeply unfair," end quote. Bravo. Bravo. I mean, bravo. I'm so very touched, Gavin Newsom, governor of California, that you would say that. Why didn't you add that you were the one doing it? Because that's exactly what the hell you were doing. When you talked about the right, when you talked about conservatives, when you talked about conservative folks out there and what their principles were and how they may not have been for transgender athletes competing in sports, how they may not have been for, for open borders, how they may not have been for sanctuary cities. Didn't you question their humanity in a roundabout way at the very least? Weren't you one of the voice boxes out there saying that stuff? Now, I like Gavin Newsom. I think the brother looks the part. He looks presidential in them damn blue suits, no doubt about it. He's sharp as a tack. He's smart as hell. But on far too many occasions, when he was spewing out facts, it was rife with emotion. Instead of addressing the facts that the right was throwing in his direction to debunk anything that he had to say. But we forgot to mention that to Bill Maher on Real Time. This is the kind of problem that exists right now. So now that we've lost an election, suddenly we're going to admit you were talking down to people. Suddenly we're going to admit you weren't paying attention to people. Suddenly you're going to admit that the things that were prioritized didn't need to be prioritized. And now we need to have conversations on both sides. That's what we were all saying leading up to the election. Now, in fairness to Gavin Newsom, who I like as a person, I must say that I don't believe he would have run from an interview with Joe Rogan. I don't believe he would have avoided until the last minute an interview with Fox News. I don't believe that he would have been as cushioned and as safeguarded as Kamala Harris. I will admit that. But there is no doubt, respectfully, Mr. Governor of California, that your record won't hold the mustard. That's why you got a podcast. We keep inviting you on this show. Still waiting. Still waiting. Because here's the reality, sir. With the homelessness, with the crime, with the cost of living in California, I can't imagine Gavin Newsom winning a presidential election with what is going on in the state of California. Period. And even though it may not have been your mistake because natural disasters happen, the first words out of your mouth can't be, It's a local problem, not a state problem when you're confronted by it. And then you show up on Real Time with Bill Maher months later and you're saying, hey, we got to own up to our mistakes. Californians don't believe you. I'm not one of them. I'm not a Californian. I'm not talking about myself. But I know plenty of Californians that do not believe you at all.